Hello, Katie, and thank you so much for coming on my YouTube channel today. I'm very happy that you agreed to come over. And I know we're going to have an interesting conversation about moving to Canada and the need to learn French before moving here. So first of all, let's start off with you by telling us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Cathy. I was born in France and I came to Canada in 2009 and I don't regret it. I love it here. And I started teaching languages and then I became a neurolanguage coach in 2017. So neurolanguage coach is an approach to teach languages in a way that also integrates coaching, knowing about the brain, and having an open and horizontal communication with our learners.
Okay, great. So you said that you don't regret moving here. So tell me a little bit about what you like the most about Canada.
I like the lifestyle. It's mostly laid back compared to France. I feel a lot less stressed and a lot less judgment from other people. Canada is very welcoming of new immigrants, and that's why I also wanted to talk to you today and help people who might want to come to Canada, help them realize their project by learning French.
Cool. It's interesting that you're saying that in Canada is very much laid back compared to France, because that's not how France is depicted on TV. Because I'm gonna give you a very simple example because I'm watching Emily in Paris, and it looks like over there is very much laid back. So I'm surprised this is like the other way around for you.
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, French people know how to enjoy life, and that's one thing I missed when I first arrived here, was sitting down in a cafe, like the terrace of the cafe, talking for hours on end with my friends, and then just a little espresso cafe. I did miss that, but I find it here in Montreal it is more similar. Okay. So we can enjoy life, but I find the work environment is not as friendly as Canada's work environment.
Gotcha. Well, let's start about, moving to Canada and the need to know French. So my first question is how important it is to learn French before moving to Canada. And especially if you're planning to move, let's say in Quebec or in other French-speaking areas.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and a distinction we need to make right away, because if you're moving to what we call the rest of Canada, so Canada outside of Quebec, you don't need French in your daily life. You might need French to pass the exam and get the points you need for permanent residency, but beyond that, you won't need French in your daily life. But if you move to Quebec, you do need to learn French, because that's going to make a huge difference, both in your experience, how you're able to connect with other people, get involved in your community, feel good with people around you, and also get better jobs. Compared to if you speak only English in Quebec, you'll learn French pretty quick. As a new immigrant, you will want to learn French.
Yeah, so it's highly recommended that if you want to have a good life and if you want to have a good job, that you learn how to speak French before moving to Quebec, basically.
Yeah, you don't need to be fluent before coming here. I think when you're still in your home country, you can get to know the basis, maybe take beginner classes, get to lower intermediate. And then when you get here with all the exposure and then some extra work you're going to do, then you can increase your skills, but you don't need to be fluent or bilingual before you come here. Just know the basics and work on your listening comprehension, so you can understand written French and also what's going on around you when people speak and ask you questions.
So here's my question for you, because you basically moved from France to Canada. Did you notice any particular difference in the pronunciation?
Yes, and that's why when I say practice your listening comprehension, make sure you do listen to Quebec French, because if you only go with what you learn at school, which is a more neutral French, standard French, or what you see on TV in the most popular series and movies, that's all Paris French or French France. But here is so different. I mean, Urmi, you know how it is, right?
I do know
You've been there.
I do know it. I know it very well. Yeah, because because I learned how to speak French back when I was in Italy. And over there, they teach you the French, like the French from France. And then when I came to Canada, I heard the French here, and I was like, I never heard this like in my entire life. I didn't know that there was such thing as Quebecois. And then when I saw that, oh, there is like a language known as Quebecois, and then you hear it, you start to realize that all the years that you have spent learning French at school are like pointless, because it's like not even close to it. Like the accent is definitely not close to it. And so I had to take like some conversation classes, practice with friends, make sure that I was like listening to things in Quebecois so that I can get a hang of it. But it's definitely like a completely new experience here, definitely.
Yeah, for me as a francophone, it wasn't as hard. Like it requires some adjustments and asking them, oh, what does this word mean? What do you mean by that? But the base of the language is common, and the written French is the same. So it just took a bit. And I had some Quebecois friends in Vancouver, so I had a transition period to get used to it. But for newcomers, I would recommend, there's Radio-Canada has an app called Montreal, Maurail. That's really good to practice listening comprehension. There's also a manual called Par ici that you can get online, or when you're in Quebec, there's different levels, and it teaches you Quebecois French, day-to-day Quebecois French you need to live your life, and then when you get to the higher level, how to work in French also. So I would recommend that, and listening to Radio-Canada and Quebecois YouTube channels.
Perfect. So I know you already mentioned these two resources, but are there like other programs available for newcomers if they want to like learn French as soon as they move here?
Yeah, so in Quebec, you have what's called francisation classes, francisation. They're really good. I really recommend, because it's free also, so all good. Free, and sometimes it can even be subsidized. You can get paid to go to classes full-time for 6 months, I think. Yeah. But you need to commit. If you have a job and family on the side, the hours schedule might not work for you. And if you don't attend more than 3 times, I think they strike you out and you're out of the program. So it doesn't work for everyone.
Is there anything else besides this one that you can think of?
So in Quebec, there's a lot of opportunities to practice. You could find a job in a francophone environment, get roommates, do volunteering with people who speak French. And if you're not in Quebec but want to learn French, there are government-sponsored programs. Yeah. So check with the school boards in Ontario, BC, and there are programs for new immigrants who want to learn French.
Yeah. And you spoke about this like a little bit at the beginning, but how can learning French impact your integration within the Canadian society, your impact with also the job opportunities?
So if we talk about Quebec, all the current government is pushing language laws that are always stricter and stricter to push the French language. So it's harder for new immigrants to navigate life in English. They have to quickly switch to everything in French. If you have kids, they will go to French school, so you will have to navigate the French school system. At work, communications are also in French. Companies are required to communicate in French. Day to day, your colleagues may speak English, so that's all right. But you have to get into the Francophone work culture also, which is different compared to Anglophone work culture. And if you don't speak the language and you don't understand or don't know the culture, then people may not consider you for promotions or different jobs because they won't relate to you. They won't have that same relationship they have with other people who can speak French, and then they won't think about you. So speaking French is definitely an asset.
Yeah, definitely. And I do agree with everything that you said, because it does give you a little bit of an advantage knowing how to speak French. You know, it's like, even when you're looking for a job, they always look for like bilingual, you know, it's like, if you know French is an asset, but now they look like, oh, they want bilingual people. Like, it's very hard, I think, to find a job that is just strictly in English unless the company is just in English. But even when you go for a company that is just speaking English and then you want to switch, it just makes it so much more difficult because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to speak French. No one is going to hire me, and it makes it very, very tough.
Yeah. And
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to work for big companies like with good benefits, good work conditions like Desjardins, Radio-Canada, the government, Air Canada, they all require bilingual or at least fluent French. You don't need to be like bilingual, perfect bilingual, but knowing how to communicate is really important.
Yeah, especially if you're like doing client servicing, like if you're interacting with clients, and I would also say this is very specific also in Quebec, is that people get offended when you just speak in English and you don't speak Quebecois or French, because it's like, why are you not speaking my language? So it's there are people who get really, really upset when you're not approaching them in French.
Yeah, I was on the street the other day, and I think I just came out of a bubble tea place, and I heard a guy say, well, he's not even able to ask me if I want sugar or anything in French. Like, they were complaining about that. So it's even Starbucks jobs, people will ask you to make an effort to learn some French. Not be perfect, but make an effort to learn it.
Yeah, and talking about this, I also know like people and friends who basically studied in Montreal. They study strictly in English, and then they just move outside of Quebec because of job opportunities. They were like, there's no future for me here because I don't know how to speak the language. Or maybe they started to work in English environments, but then when they had to switch, they were like, yeah, I'm just going to change completely the province because it's like, I don't think I can live here any longer.
Yeah. There is a big debate about that because the government is pushing stricter language laws, but it conflicts with the needs of the Quebec economy to have more people coming to work here. So
yeah, definitely.
I don't know what's going to become.
Yeah, but I do think that the fact that you said that the government does help you and there are this special programs that are free, I think it's good to take advantage of those ones, like definitely.
Absolutely, and they're really good. So francisation lasts for a certain amount of time, but you don't feel fully confident to express yourself in French once the program is over. And that's when I start working with people who want to feel more confident or have more nuance in the way they can express themselves, or who want to go deeper so they can work in French and feel confident that the emails they're writing are correct. So it's not enough, but it will get you started. And the people I help, they already have all the bases, but it goes so fast that sometimes they just need more practice and more one-on-one to explain what they don't understand. But that provides all the bases, so definitely use it. Yes.
So I'm going to ask you one question for someone who, let's say, is new but has some knowledge of French, but they want to practice it without actually going to these classes. What advice or tips would you give them?
You can do a lot of work on your own, like self-studying, with books and listening to audios, reading. Then my job as a coach is also to help you organize your learning, prioritize, identify the areas you need to work on. So I can work with clients one-on-one for, let's say, once a week we meet and we practice certain points. But also sometimes I work with people like once a month, and then we organize their learning plan, and then they do a lot on their own, self-studying or talking with friends, and going to, like, volunteering is a really good way to interact in French. So I would recommend just living your life in French, get fluent, and then when you need to be more accurate, to make less mistakes, then hire a teacher or a coach to help you with that.
Yeah, I do like the tip about volunteering, because I also did it many, many years ago, but I was trying to basically practice my French while volunteering. But I must say it was a bit difficult, because you're volunteering, giving your time, and the volunteering work that I was doing was basically answering the phone. But then I felt like I was having a little bit of trouble being like answering questions. Like maybe I was able to understand, but then you don't have that one-to-one interaction, so you don't have anyone giving you the feedback. So sometimes I feel like yes, you can do it, but it's also a bit challenging. Like, let's say if you are in an organization and then you have people calling for information. Like the way I did it at the end was that I had a friend with who I would have conversations, and we would just have conversation in French, and that really helped me because I was getting my instant feedback. Like, he would just correct my mistakes. So that's what I would say. Like, it depends also on your level, because if you're like completely basic and you do volunteering, I don't know if it helps.
No, yeah, you need to be already conversational, and interacting is French is going to help you with the fluency, just getting rid of that block of, oh, I'm afraid of speaking French. So reassure you that you can communicate in French. But maybe I was thinking of volunteering, like maybe preparing meals for a soup kitchen or working in a community garden. So something where your job as a volunteer does not involve communication, but more like chit chat with your co-workers at the time. Might be less stressful. But definitely it's different. You need to work different skills when you're learning a language. There's the confidence and fluency part where it's just about talking, and that any activity that gets you talking and listening and trying to understand and communicate your needs and ideas, that's useful. But then when you want to speak more accurately, then you need what you need to do. You need to do what you did with your friend, having that feedback that will help you correct the mistakes, learn new words, and go beyond that. So you do need a bit of both, or prioritize one or the other depending on your level and the skills you already have.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guess what? We cover all the questions. And we almost reached the end of the interview, but I'm not done. I'm not gonna let you go that soon because I have 5 rapid fire questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, are you ready?
I am. Shoot.
All right. So the first question is your favorite comfort food.
Chocolate.
What's the last song you had on repeat?
I just came from a year in Japan, so I listened to Hoshino Gen, who's like really peppy, feel-good song in Japanese.
All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
That would be Japanese reality TV. I use it to learn the language, but it's also, I like it.
And the best language learning advice you got?
Be strategic. So as I said, practice fluency and accuracy, but know what you really need and just go for that.
All right. Well, thank you, Cathy. Thank you for answering all those rapid fire questions. This is the end of our interview. But before I let you go, tell us how people can connect with you.
Yeah, so they can just Google me, Cathy Intro. There's my website, mypolyglotlife.com. And when they sign up for my newsletter and my freebie, they can receive the 10 essentials. So it's a checklist of 10 essentials that you need to have to make your learning efficient and to have fun, to have joy as you're learning the language. And there's also some coaching questions to get them thinking about their learning process. And also Instagram, cathy.intro.com, YouTube, same thing, and LinkedIn. I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will make sure
I forgot.
forgot
my podcast. I'm the hostess of a podcast, My Polyglot Life en français, so it's in French, and every other week, every 2 weeks.
Perfect. Well, I will make sure to put all those links in the description so people can connect with you. And once again, thank you for coming to my YouTube channel.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.